Prospect 1.
The Pittsburgh Pirates.
Coming up at number 1 on the top 10 for the fantasy prospects for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it is still Austin Meadows. We're still looking at hitters. Number 2, Mitch Keller. Number 3, Cole Tucker. Number 4, Shane Baz. Number 5, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Number 6, Mason Martin. Number 7, Taylor Hearn. Number 8, Connor Uselton. I think it's Uselton. Connor Uselton. Number 9, Calvin Mitchell. And number 10, Lolo Sanchez. That's your Pittsburgh Pirates. And I at least butchered Connor's last name. That's for sure. Uselton. That sounds right?
Uselton sounds right. I like this Lolo Sanchez. That's a good name.
Sanchez.
That's an 80 on the 2080 scale name.
Lolo Sanchez, I would say, is getting top 15 hype across.
I think I ate at Lolo's one time.
Did you? Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good.
Lolo Sanchez is probably getting top 10 hype coming into this season. There's a couple players. There's a Twins player we'll talk about when we get to the Twins. I talked about Gabriel Arias with the Padres. Lolo Sanchez is another one of those players that's getting really, really hyped up. In 2017, he hit .284 with 4 homers, 14 stolen bases, only struck out 19 times in 204 at-bats, and yes, he walked more than he struck out. 21-19, the walk-to-strikeout ratio. That puts him at a .359 OBP. The skill set is very exciting for a lot of people. He's still a bit small. 6 foot, but he's only 150. He's growing into his body, but people are getting pretty excited. By the way, his real name is, this is total disappointment to you. We call him Lolo Sanchez. His real name, Kevin Brian Sanchez. That's why he went with Lolo.
What? How do you get Lolo out of Kevin Bryant?
All I wish for is, I guess it'll be too late. He'll probably talk about that before he gets to the AFL. All I want to know is why it's Lolo and not Kevin Bryant.
Clinton Dix for the Packers is named His real name is Hasheen, but his grandmother just couldn't say it. So she always called him and that's how I became
I really like Lolo Sanchez, and I moved him up my ranks, though I'll be honest with you, there's probably a couple other rankers that do fantasy that are going to be more aggressive on him. I'm just not there. I'm not 100% there. Maybe I'll miss the boat in your ultra-aggressive league, so that would be my piece of advice for people that if you look at my list, which you can find at patreon.com/ITLArmy, top 500, if you see him and pending the talent level of scouting that's in your league, if you got a whole bunch of good prospect people, you're going to have to bump him up if you want him. If you're in like a 12-man kind of standard, people kind of follow, I think my rank is more than aggressive enough to be able to get him. But Lolo, not only a cool name, but a very, very popular, hyped-up name for this season.
You mentioned it kind of at the top. A lot of this system has changed, but Austin Meadows has been at the top forever, and he was kind of like he was a top 10-ish to 15-ish type of guy, and he bumped down a little bit last year, and then it seems like he's bumped down a little more this year.
Yeah, this was a bummer for him, too, because 2015 was like, that was the best, where stole 21, low on the homer, 7 homers, but he hit 310. Then he kind of tapered in 2016, where people were like, okay, he sold out for a little bit more power. He's still stealing some bases, don't worry. And then in 2017, 5 homers, 11 stolen bases, only hitting .261. He had some injury stuff, which kind of caused it. I'm not out on Austin Meadows. He's 22 years old. In May, he'll turn 23. Yeah. Everyone kind of thought, okay, this is it. Starling Marte, he gets suspended. It's Austin Meadows. He wasn't ready. The dude wasn't ready. They're still talking about, the Pirates are still dangling Andrew McCutchen, which, by the way, by the time people are listening to this, Andrew McCutchen could be traded, or he could be traded midseason. They're going to give the opportunity to Austin Meadows. He's going to get it. And
this is the Pirates, man. They're difficult.
They are difficult. They hold down their prospects, but we're talking.
I just don't even know if anything's guaranteed because they're so stubborn.
Well, nothing is guaranteed. They might not trade McCutchen. They just said he's available. Okay. I'm not saying he's going to get traded because there's no. I 100% agree with you. There's no guarantee.
Okay.
But if he
I thought
does
you were
get
saying
traded,
that he's definitely going to be in there this season.
Dude, I wouldn't be shocked, even though this is what you have to consider with Austin Meadows. 2 years of AAA. Yeah. I would not be shocked if the Pirates made it a third. but I don't think that's going to happen. I do think, as much as Andrew McCutchen loves Pittsburgh, as much as Pittsburgh loves Andrew McCutchen.
Dude, he named his son Steele.
I know. They're going to move on. I think they're going to move on from Andrew McCutchen, whether it's in the offseason or right around the trade deadline. That will be Austin Meadows' time. That's what's going to happen. So I'm not out on him, where a lot of people have moved on. Now, where at maybe one time he was a top 15 prospect, he's not there anymore. But I haven't moved him out of the top 50 because I think, regardless of people wanting to look at the poor performance and just say, well, there's just no more Austin Meadows, I'd rather go have some other guy. He's still got a great hit tool. The power can play for 20 plus, and he's been stealing bases. If this dude hits 20 homers and 10 stolen bases and can hit 280 in Pittsburgh, I think he's going to thrive, and I still think that's a possibility. So I'm still aggressive on Austin Meadows. What
about the rest of these guys kind of in the middle here? Because you have Meadows and then Keller are fairly high, but then there's a lot of middle here. And I think that's why they're ahead of the Cardinals, because they have way more middle. The Cardinals kind of had some decent guys at the top,
It's higher middle with Pittsburgh. It's like higher middle.
Right. Yeah, it's in the top 200.
What I like about Pittsburgh in the middle area is I would be aggressive from 3 to 10 on all these players. Cole Tucker, the shortstop, didn't get out to the AZL, but he was lighting it up at one point, leading the league in stolen bases in the minors. He stole 47, hit 6 homers. The power is continuously growing with a decent average. I really like Cole Tucker. To Key Brian Hayes, who's kind of similar, I think Hayes has power that has just not come. The dude went half the season without a homer. He finished with only 2, but he stole 27 bases with a pretty good average. I think Key Brian Hayes has power to come. Then you go to guys like Connor Uselton, who we talked about, Calvin Mitchell, Lolo Sanchez. I think all of those guys are way underrated prospects that I would, especially, and we'll talk about this in some future episodes, when you're looking at first-year player drafts, those guys are going to qualify as players I would be aggressive on. Taylor Hearn, who was very impressive in the Arizona Fall League. There's a lot of aggression. And Mason Martin, of those young prospects who I might be the most aggressive on, the dude hit 11 homers in 127 at-bats, and he didn't sacrifice average because he hit 307 with a 457 OBP. He probably going to play first base, 6 foot, 201. I like me some Mason Martin. So the Pirates, they've got talent even outside of the top 10, but the top 10 I think is really, really strong.
How about are there sleepers in the system? You got a lot of guys listed here, so I feel like there's got to be some.
Okay, so Luis Escobar is one of those guys I was on pretty early last year, and if you're looking for pitchers, he struck out 168 over 131 with a 3.8 ERA. And I think he's a guy that's kind of developing himself as a future starting pitcher. If we go down the list, there's some...
What happened to Kevin Newman, by the way?
I don't like his skill set even. I mean, I'm not a U of A guy, even though we were joking about it when we talked about J.J. Manchevich with Houston earlier. But I just don't like, as we joke and call it the stuff and things effect. I think Kevin Newman is a better professional baseball player than he is a fantasy asset. The average, though in 2016 he hit 320, I don't think it's going to be a high average. Doesn't hit a bunch of homers. Not going to steal a bunch of bases. At best, he's a utility guy. I'm trying to think of a good comp in Major League Baseball.
Martin Prado.
Yeah, maybe, but worse. I mean, Martin Prado had he had endearing,
he was fun to watch at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really trying to think
he had a couple big RBI years, and he'd always score some decent runs too. So
think bad Clint Barmas.
Oh God.
That.
No, so not his rookie year, Clint Barmas.
Exactly. That bad in that range. I'm just not on Kevin.
After falling when carrying the deer made up the steps.
Kevin. Yeah,
that's the injury that caused him all those problems.
That's so stupid, so dumb. Kevin Newman could be a guy. He's just not going to be someone I'm going to pay on. The sleeper value guys, to me, they're aggressively Mason Martin, Lolo Sanchez, Calvin Mitchell, Connor Uselton, those guys. As well, Cole Tucker would be players I'd look at. If you're going really, really deep, Samuel Ainoa was a catcher, a 19-year-old. He had a pretty good 2017. Is a catcher. But it was in the DSL, hit 312, 2 homers, and a 433 OBP, so I kind of like him. And they have this guy, Juan Pie, remember PA with the
Felix
Cubs?
PA.
Felix PA. I don't know if these guys are related, but he's a 16-year-old. I kind of dig him as well as Tristan
I'm just going to say they
Gray.
are. They're related.
I'm cool with that. Oh, another one that you can look at if you're going super deep is Sheraton Apostle, third baseman.
That's another 80 name.
6'4", 213, 18 years old, hit 258 in the DSL, 9 homers, 4 stolen bases, more walks than strikeouts. 56 walks in 198 at-bats to 49 strikeouts. That would be someone, if you're in the super deep league, you go get your Apostle.
Did we talk about Keller at all? Because
no.
I think there's more chance for Keller to come up this year than there is for Austin Meadows, because I think if McCutchen was going to move in the offseason, it would have happened by now. Right?
That's a good take. I like that take. Keep going.
And it hasn't happened. So when you look at this starting rotation, we've got Cole, Tyon, Nova, Cool Chad, and Trevor Williams. And Garrett Cole is still swirling around in trade talks where there's nothing with McCutchen. McCutchen talks are dead. So Cole could go. If he goes, that would leave Tyon, Nova, Chad Cool, Trevor Williams, and then a mix of, I don't know, who you want to put in there. Schugel, who is, I don't even know who this is. Milbrath? I don't know who these guys are.
Luis Escobar is another. No, Glasnow. Glasnow would move into it.
Yeah, I don't know why Roster Resource doesn't have Glasnow listed. Is he still on the DL?
No, Glasnow. I think Glasnow would be the guy that would move into it. I would say that the reason they move Garrett Cole is because they want to give Glasnow the opportunity, and they believe Mitch Keller is ready if given the call. Now,
they got Brault too, so that's not bad. And Nick Kingham came up a little bit. So I guess they have some options, but Keller's a stronger option than probably all these guys except Glasnow.
If you're going to rebuild, you might as well. I know it's against the Pirates' way where they just want to hold their prospects down as much as possible. But, get these guys up there. Get Glasnow up there. Get Mitch Keller up there. Get Tyon. Build those guys up to be your future 1, 2, 3. Keller had a good AFL. He had a good season in 2017. In 2017, a 3 ERA, 116 strikeouts, 116 innings, 32 walks. In the AFL, the thing I noticed about him is he's very reliant on his control because he moved the fastball around the zone a whole lot. But then the only thing that bothered me about him, and this is a very correctable thing, his curveball is pretty good, but there was tons of contact made on it. A lot of it was soft contact, which that's what you want with a curveball. But some was hard enough contact on the curveball because they knew it was coming that they were able to get liners and singles up the field. Was that every time and this could have been an AFL-centric thing, so don't read too much into this, but he was very reliant on his curveball as his strikeout pitch, and I think that's going to be a problem. But he has really good control, so I think you can be excited about him. But in fantasy, I question if he's going to hold like elite strikeouts. So maybe he's going to be more in that like SP3 range of fantasy than he could be an SP2 or 1, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Anybody else you want to talk about, or should we go to the next guys?
I think we covered most of it with the Pirates. I think that gives a good look. And if you guys want more, you obviously, you can hit me up. You can hit chats or stuff to talk about with Taylor Hearn and even Key Brian Hayes and Shane Baz. Shane Baz is a guy that we completely overlooked.